All right, today we're diving into the life of Luang Pho Chui. Now, that's a name that carries so much weight, especially in Phetchaburi. His story, it's just this incredible mix of deep spiritual power and a vision for the future that was way ahead of its time. And if you know anything about his legacy, you probably know about this. This is the heart of it all, his first edition amulet from way back in 2465 BE. For anyone who collects sacred amulets in Thailand, this thing is, well, it's not just a piece of copper. It's the Holy Grail. It's one of the most sought-after pieces, period. I mean, its status is absolutely legendary. We're talking about the Benjapakee of amulet coins. Now, if you're not familiar with that term, think of it as the top 5, the absolute pinnacle of the most revered, most prestigious amulet coins in the entire country. It's like a masterpiece, you know? And it was created by a monk people believed had just immense spiritual power. So that really begs the question, doesn't it? What makes this amulet so special? And more importantly, who was the incredible man behind it all? That's what we're here to find out. Let's get into it. Okay, so to really understand the legend, we've got to go back, way back to the very beginning, long before he was this famous, revered monk. He was born simply as Chui on November 20th, 2401 BE, that's 1858, during the reign of King Rama IV. He was the oldest of 5 kids. And then, at just 20 years old, in 2421, he makes this huge life-changing decision. He becomes a monk at Wat Khongkharam. That's where he was given his monastic name, Sukhbhikkhu. But you see, becoming a monk, that was really just the first step for him. He was totally committed, deeply committed, to mastering his mind through meditation. And that journey, it would end up defining his entire life. And he knew that if you want to become a master, you've got to learn from a master. So he sought out Ajahn Krut of Wat Mahatat, who was one of the most renowned meditation teachers of the entire era. He wanted the best guide he could find. And this number 7, this is so important. For 7 straight Lents, that's the 3-month rainy season retreat for monks, he did nothing but intensive Vipassana meditation. Can you imagine that dedication? He just pushed and pushed until he reached this really profound level of spiritual insight. Well, after all that, it's no surprise his mastery became famous, right? He went from being the student to being the teacher. And he had a lot of disciples. But get this, one of his most famous students was another monk who would become a legend himself, Luang Pho Dong of Wat Khao Bandai It. Luang Pho Yong actually saw Luang Pho Chui as his main teacher. That's a huge deal. But his influence didn't just stop at meditation and spiritual matters, not even close. He also became a huge leader in the Sangha, the monastic community. And what's really amazing, especially for that time, he became a pioneer for education. And you can see his rise, step by step, over the decades. He starts with his first appointment way back in 2429, then becomes the deputy head monk for the whole province in 2450, and then, finally in 2460, he's promoted to the super high rank of Phra Suwanmunee. That made him the head monk for all of Phetchaburi Province and the abbot of his temple. That just shows you how much his influence and responsibility had grown. But his vision, it went way beyond the temple walls. And this is where his story takes a really fascinating turn. He saw the future in education. Long before this was a common idea, he realized that the key to a better future for everyone was educating the local kids. And he wasn't just going to talk about it, he was going to do something about it. And his legacy here is just crystal clear. It started with him, personally, just teaching kids inside the temple's prayer hall. But by 2444, that small effort had grown into a proper school, right there on the temple grounds, called Bumrung Thai School. And that little seed he planted, it grew and evolved into what is now the Pramanisorn School, the top, most prestigious provincial school in all of Phetchaburi. I mean, what an incredible, lasting impact. And that brings us right back around, full circle, to that famous amulet we started with. But see, now it's different. Now we have the context. We understand the kind of man who made it, his spiritual depth, his leadership, and his vision for the community. So why was it even made? Well, the reason was actually pretty practical. Back in 2465, the temple needed to build a brand new shrine, a mandap. So the amulet was created as a kind of commemorative gift, a thank you token for all the people who donated money to help fund the big construction project. Okay, let's look a little closer at the amulet itself, because the details are really something. It was only made from copper. the front has this amazing, really striking half-body portrait of Luang Pho Chui, and it was actually carved by a royal artisan, which is why it's so beautiful. Then on the back, you've got this sacred yantra, the Yant Krabang Kwai, or crossed batons yantra, and it's inscribed with that core Buddhist mantra, Namo Buddhaya. Now, for the serious collectors, the tiniest details make all the difference. Check this out. There are actually two main versions, or blocks, used for the back. They're told apart by a really subtle little line, or the lack of one, inside the Thai letter Ma in the yantra. It seems like a tiny thing, but that little detail is absolutely crucial for authenticating the amulet and figuring out its value. So, what about its spiritual powers? What do people believe it does? Well, this Buddha-kun, as it's called, is said to focus on three main things. First, Metta Mahanayom, which is all about loving kindness and personal charm. Then there's Cloud-clad, for avoiding danger. And finally, Kongkrapan Chatri, which is believed to offer invulnerability. And after this whole lifetime of devotion and service, his final chapter was surprisingly short. He created this legendary amulet in 2465, but just 1 year later, on December 28, 2466, Luang Pho Chui passed away. He was 65 years old and had spent 45 of those years as a monk. So, that leaves us with something to think about, right? For a man who had such a profound impact, what's his real true legacy? Is it the incredible spiritual power held within his amulet, something that thousands of people still seek out today? Or is it found in the classrooms of that school he started, something that is still shaping the future for generations of kids in Phetchaburi? It's a tough question. Maybe the real answer is that you can't have one without the other.